In the 1980s, there was a group of archaeologists in Kubifora, Kenya, and we could say they were trying to find out more about humans. One of the most interesting things they found in that area are orange and red spots that were left on the soil. It was kind of like that part of the dirt was cooked. But why were they in this area? Because before finding those spots, they had found ancient rocks that were turned into tools, and it belonged to 1.5 million years ago. It was obvious that a smart ancient creature used to live in this area, and they had made these tools. Archaeologists believe that ancient humans made these tools, and the red and orange spots that were left in the dirt shows us that the same humans used to create campfires in this area. The archaeologists wrote that we for sure can't say if they could control the fire back then. The fire could have appeared there from natural causes and left these orange and red marks on its spot. The same archaeologists believe that ancient humans could not create fire or control it, but when a fire was naturally started, they would go around it and try to keep that alive as long as possible. And that is why the fires were stayed on for a very long time and created these spots. After the 1980s, archaeologists that were obsessed with ancient humans loved Kenya because when they realized that more than 1.5 million years ago ancient humans lived here and there is a chance that they used to control fire, they really wanted to study this place. And it's good to know this is the oldest place where there's signs of ancient fire being controlled. Scientists are trying to study how long ago ancient humans were able to start and control fire, but unfortunately, we haven't had much luck to really set a date on when it happened. We have to know the history of controlling fire is not as simple as looking at ancient tools and artifacts. Like for example, the stone tools. There were fires, but there's nothing left of them where the scientists can test it and put a date on it. Until now, the only places we could figure out are these red and orange spots in Kenya. When we can't figure much out from fires and the ashes it leaves behind, we have to go to animals that live near that time, especially ancient humans. With their help, we can see when they started cooking food. Scientists believe when we figure out when ancient humans began cooking their food, that's when we know they could actually control the fire and start it. You could say cooking food was the most important thing that ancient humans learned. Not only is it easier to chew cooked food, but it's easier for our bodies to digest it. And obviously, it's better for our bodies. Most importantly, that got the ancient humans hooked on cooked food was that it just tasted better. Another thing that ancient humans couldn't figure out how it's helping them is that the fire would kill the microbes and parasites on that food. And the chances of getting sick was brought down a notch. Right now, we know when we cook meat, it gives us more nutrition than uncooked meat. And in return, because of that, our bodies have an easier time digesting that type of food. You could say when it's cooked food, the calories are better for you. Not only was the fire helping humans cook their food, but it was also keeping them warm. And with the help of fire, the humans did not have to stay in hotter climates. And with this, they could move more north and north. This ancient human is called a Homo erectus. And the last ones used to live about 100,000 years ago. Scientists say these were the ones that were able to control fire, and they say that because when they analyzed their fossils, they realized that Homo erectus teeth are smaller than their predecessor, and that shows us that these guys used to eat cooked food, and after hundreds of thousands of years, their teeth got smaller and less predator looking. But this is not the only proof archaeologists have. Another thing that shows us that Homo erectus used to cook their food is that they got taller than before, and they also had more muscle mass. And most importantly, the cooked food helped their brains develop, and they started to get smarter. We could say Homo erectus was one of the first advanced humans because they were the first group of people with the help of fire able to escape Africa and move to Asia and Europe. After the 1980s, where they found the red and orange spots in Kenya, archaeologists found ancient cooked rocks all over Asia and Europe, and it was obvious that the stone was used to cook or make a wall around fire. But unfortunately, with the help of these rocks, you really can't put a date on how old the fire was around the rock, because when you look at the rock by itself, it's much older than that Homo erectus and the fire that started it. But these ancient cooked rocks show us something very cool, and that shows us the fire that was around these rocks were very much controlled, and you could say it was used for a fire pit, not like a random lightning hitting the ground and starting the fire. Archaeologists have found proof in Western Asia that Homo erectus used to cook food about 350,000 years ago, and they would eat cooked food only. But how did they figure this out? In this area, they found plenty of ancient Homo erectus teeth and ancient animal bones that were cooked. It was very obvious that the Homo erectus used to hunt these animals, bring them home and cook them to eat. It is true that the Homo erectus went all over Asia and Europe. They stayed in Western Asia for a longer period of time, but they had a harder time moving more north. And that is why you really don't see it much more north than Georgia and most parts of Europe. And that's with the help of the teeth and cooked bones. By now, you could say finding the history of when we controlled fire, it's like a paradox. And unfortunately, we just can't solve it yet. The things we figured out was with the help of Homo erectus, and we really can't put a date on when these guys were controlling fire and when they started cooking with this fire. Archaeologists believe that Homo erectus did not leave Africa until it was able to control fire. But just like we said before, there is no exact date on when Homo erectus left Africa, so that's another paradox. Most scientists believe that fire was one of the most important things to help our evolution. If ancient humans couldn't control fire and didn't start cooking food, evolution would have gone in a complete different path. And us humans right now living right here would be completely different.